All right, welcome back to the Anna Day of Conversation. I'm really excited for you to meet the next two guests that we have, Hope and Faith. They are amazing individuals that reached out to me just a couple of months ago, and I was really inspired by the work that they were doing. And I'm excited for you to get the opportunity to meet with them today. So, Hope, Faith, thank you again so much for taking some time to chat with me. One of the first questions that I wanted to throw out there is to give you both an opportunity to introduce yourselves and to maybe tell us a little bit more about Project Balance and the work that you're hoping to do through that.
Of course, yeah, we're so glad to have this opportunity. My name's Hope, and this is my sister Faith. Hi. And we both go to Bayard Rustin High School. We're both juniors, and Faith can tell you a little bit more about. We started this club, I would say, beginning of this year, and it's started to become a bigger, and we've reached out to a lot more people than I guess I expected in the beginning. Yeah, so I think mental health has been a huge part of our lives. We definitely saw that gap in our community, and we wanted to have a youth-led organization that promotes that emotional well-being, and is committed to changing those stereotypes and stigmas that people have of diet culture and raise awareness regarding eating disorders, anxiety, depression, and many more mental health related issues that often go unnoticed. And I think people need to understand that it's important to learn about these and educate themselves, especially to help others in need. And we want to create advocacy, education, accessible coping resources, and reform school policies and support those who are struggling. And this is overall to create a more compassionate and supportive community. And you can go ahead. Yeah, and so we do like different fundraisers, like pop-up events at different places. We've gotten connected with like cafes and I know like grocery stores, and they first start off small, but as we've even through like handing out bookmarks to our fellow peers, it's like allowed us to distribute our mission and what we are trying to teach people, inform people about. But that's kind of what our Project Balance is about, I would say. It's what we've done so far, but
Amazing. Amazing work. You are doing you're making a big difference already. So I applaud you and I'm excited to see where Project Balance goes from here. If somebody's listening right now and they want to get involved, what are some ways that they could get involved and what's the best way they could reach out to you?
so it is so important that youth get involved in eating disorder awareness because young people are always like the ones most directly affected. And it's also another bit huge thing within school, like the stigmas in the school environment and the expectations that directly affect our peers. And so that's also why we want people to join us and reach out. We have a link tree and we also have an Instagram, a YouTube, and a Spotify. So we have a bunch of podcasts on there that we meet with different therapists or even sort of specialists to inform our community, whether it's someone who's struggling directly or people just want to learn more about it, because there are a lot of different stigmas and stereotypes around this disorder. And youth advocates, it's also so important to us because it shows that mental health struggles are human and it's not anything to be ashamed of. And it also allows people to get involved and feel seen and before their struggles become life-threatening or unassisted. Yeah, and some of the activities or the opportunities that we do have would include volunteer opportunities like handing out our bookmarks and our pamphlets. We also have an opportunity for people to share their story or even get a mental health topic to write about that we can publish on our website, which will be able to share people's voices, really shedding light on the importance of mental health and being able to help others understand what these issues are about and how they affect individuals.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so important to share our stories. I think that is where like a big impact can be made. So I'm glad that you're giving people that platform and that opportunity to share their story. And you were talking about it too. It's so important that youth get involved
Mhm.
because I've noticed it in my work. I can go out to schools, I can go out and talk to high school and college students, but I'm just the old guy in the room. Like if they're hearing it from their peers, it resonates on a different level. It seems
Yeah.
to be more relatable and easier to talk about. So I think that this youth-led initiative that you've got will really start conversations that maybe an initiative that was driven directly from ANID or from a major organization wouldn't necessarily be able to start because you're there in the classrooms, on the ground, in the community, being able to
Mhm.
have those conversations. I'm
Exactly.
curious, what is one of the challenges that's maybe come up along the way since you started Project Balanced?
It's definitely getting people involved. I think a lot of people misunderstand these mental health issues, especially eating disorders. We're very influenced by stigmas from social media and even just from our peers. And like people assume that it's just simply about food or appearance, which makes it harder to have genuine conversations. And it's not about that. It's a mental health issue. And we need people to feel comfortable and avoid engaging in what everyone else thinks. I think we need to learn how to have those conversations because it is healthy. And yes, it's uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. But I think it's so important to learn how to have conversations, especially with people who have gone through it. It's hard to make that a reality and say it out loud because it does make it real. But I think having that support from others who've experienced it as well will make it more comfortable and less sensitive, I think. And as young adults, we often compete with busy schedules, short attention spans, and influence of social media and peers. But it really just starts out with small, consistent steps. So, like distributing our resources, like pamphlets and hosting pop-ups, getting engaged with small groups, like maybe having some of your friends over and sharing simple things. It doesn't have to be too deep, but maybe if you didn't have a really good day, you could just listen to them, make them listen to you. And this kind of shifts our mindset and really just spreads the message that it's okay not to be okay and that we are allowed to share. We shouldn't hide our battles. This definitely creates a more safe environment and encourages others to, learn, speak up and share their voices.
Yeah, that's one of the things, and I'm sure people that are watching the day of conversation have probably heard me say this already today, but it's so much easier waking up knowing that you're going to make an impact on somebody's world than trying to change the whole world overnight. Like that's impossible to do, but we can make a profound impact on people's days and in their world simply by having those conversations and creating those spaces. So that's really cool. I applaud you for that.
Yeah.
Another question that I've got here is what's something that you've learned along the way, either about yourself or about eating disorders or about awareness work? What's a lesson that's come up?
Yeah, so I definitely a big thing that as a organization and like a youth-led organization that we learned as a whole, it takes time and commitment. Like things are baby steps takes I thought at first like okay, like this is gonna initiate very fast, but no, like awareness is created through steady and intentional efforts of showing up to your community in many different ways, whether it's like handing out simple bookmarks or just sitting down and listening to a friend who's struggling that day. And every act of contribution creates a broader culture of understanding within our community and within whether it's your family or friends. Our work's also shown how powerful it is when people feel safe enough to share their experiences and like personal stories, create empathy, and open up doors that remind us that we're not alone. And vulnerability, that's another big thing, getting people out of their shell because a lot of times sharing personal stories is very hard, but just getting out of their shell, whether it's like helping out with this organization, helping out like volunteering somewhere, volunteering for our organization or ANED. We learned that raising awareness isn't just about spreading information, but building these relationships. And that's one of the things we've learned a lot is about building these connections and spreading the awareness through that. Yes.
I'm curious, where do you find the time to do all of this in between all of your schoolwork? And I know that one of the
Yeah.
times we were talking, you're starting college tours and stuff like that. How do you find the time to do all of the awareness work?
Yeah, it's a lot. Some days it'll be very rewarding and I feel very successful that we got more outreach or more resources, that we're hosting more events. But a lot of it is in the background, and that can be pretty stressful, on top of school. I think it's really balanced. And that's also what I've learned is balance. You can't spend hours a day on something. You have to take it step by step, and it takes planning, it takes time. But I think in the end, that rewarding part and that idea that we're making change is very helpful. But I
Yeah,
think it's been pretty well with balancing it.
yeah,
Some days can be a lot, but most of the time it takes steps.
yeah. I think it's like that idea of I'm able to spread my voice and connect with other people that can spread their voice in times where people may be struggling, which is something I wish I would have heard. I wish I would have experienced when I was really struggling. So that really pushes me to continue because there are people out there, whether it's reaching one person, that's all that matters to me. And I feel like every day that's pushing me to be like, it can start with one person, but then eventually become more and more and more people help out, more and people become informed. And then it's like this domino effect. So while it's a lot of work, we do have a lot of help with our outreach team and our peers and a lot of people around us who are willing to help us.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And you've picked the right name, Project Balance. You're talking about finding that balance. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's really cool to hear. I had another question, but it kind of left my mind. So I guess I'll close with one of the questions that I love asking is what's some advice that you would have for other teens? You mentioned some great things there, but is there anything else that you would encourage others to keep in mind if they want to get involved or start advocating themselves?
Yeah, so we really encourage teens to get involved and support their communities in whatever way is meaningful to them, whether that's like volunteering at a fundraiser, sharing resources, or simply just being there for a friend or a family member who's going through a difficult time. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to a larger movement toward understanding and compassion. And I feel like teens if it doesn't feel like it's gonna have an impact, then they're kind of steer away from it. But it's like these small acts, no matter what, will add up and will affect someone, even if it's just for yourself. It's taking a day of a mental health day where you focus on self-care. And by continuing to show up and make consistent impacts is will collectively shift ideas around mental health, especially eating disorders.
Yeah, and change happens when people share their voices. Creating that safe space, making teens feel comfortable sharing their experiences, especially, during a time of big milestones, a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelming times. But healing is possible. I think people need to realize that they are able to overcome these obstacles, even though it might feel like, oh my God, I'm never going to, like, I'm just spiraling. Like, how do people do this? Like, I feel just horrible. It is possible. And I think being able to just take a breath, learn that today's a bad day, but tomorrow's going to be a better day is so important. And that you just have to push through because in the end, it works out. And also having that connection with others, knowing that you have supportive people by your side, that there is someone to listen to you, because every teen and every person around you brings something unique. Being able to share your voice, but having others support you, it all comes together. So yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Fantastic words of wisdom there. So, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this portion of the conversation. But again, thank you both for everything that you're doing. I'm excited to keep in touch, and we'll always be collaborating. So,
Yeah.
stay tuned, Anid community, because you're probably going to see a lot more of hope and faith in the coming months and years as they continue to grow Project Balance. So,
Yes.
again, thanks so much. Oh, did you have something you want to say?
Oh no, I was just saying thank you so much for this opportunity.
Cool. All right. Let's wrap this up. I'll hit pause. Okay, welcome back. The day of conversation continues here. I'm really excited. I know I've said that like every time I've introduced you to somebody today, but there's some really cool people who are joining us. So now I'm excited to speak with Adia, who is really making a difference in the eating disorder space. She reached out to me a couple of weeks ago now, and I was just blown away with everything that you were up to. So Adia, would you like to go ahead, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the work you're doing?
Yeah, hi. My name's Adia, and I'm a high school student in South Florida, and I founded a teen-led initiative called Body Beyond Beauty, which focuses on education, recovery, and community around body image and eating disorder recovery, especially in a performance-based environment such as rhythmic gymnastics, artistic gymnastics, dance, and cheer. I started it after seeing how early and quietly these struggles showed up for teens.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm really glad that you're like focused in on a specific area too, especially within the performing arts, because I think sometimes one of the biggest trials that I see youth-led initiatives is they try to take on too much. Like they try to reach all audiences all at once, and that can be a lot. So maybe what have you learned when it comes to really working with performance arts and talking to those individuals who might be active there?
So I am a former rhythmic gymnast myself, so I am exposed to that space. I have a lot of teammates from rhythmic gymnastics, also at school as at school as well. I have a bunch of dance friends, a bunch of gymnastics friends, a bunch of friends on the cheer team, and though they seem quiet about it all the time, they've talked to me privately before, and they've mentioned how much of a struggle it is, especially nowadays with social media, with expectations from judges and coaches. So I was exposed to this and I thought that it's such a mental struggle. It hurts so much. And I don't think anyone deserves to be in that kind of pain. So my focus with Body Beyond Beauty was to focus on becoming a new self, like becoming a new person, but in a sense of recovery, in a sense of finding that trust in yourself again, that your body is there to serve you and not for you to hurt it.
Mhm.
So one of my biggest focuses is through journaling, because I found through my recovery, through going through this myself, that journaling really helped me just release my thoughts. Because there's no rules with journaling. There was just a plain paper and a pen, and I just started writing, and that saved me. Like that truly was a ritual I implemented into my life, and I've gotten my friends to implement. And everyone talks to me about all the time about how much it has helped because there's no restrictions, there's no rules, there's no guidelines. You just write whatever you're feeling. So it's definitely helped, and that's why that's like one of my biggest focuses with Body Beyond Beauty.
I love that. Journaling was like a cornerstone of my eating disorder recovery. It was so important to just have that space where it was me, a pen, and some paper. And
Right,
no matter how you journal, it can be effective. If you want to hop on your laptop and do some writing there, like you can do it.
right.
I even tell people you can do like audio journaling and talk into your phone, record some of those messages. Just get
Yeah.
it out. And maybe what's some advice you would give to somebody who's like, okay, journaling, I just don't know where to start. Because I know some people like to have those prompts and want to know what they're writing before they even start. What would you say to somebody who's trying to get into journaling?
Right. So definitely it takes trial and error because I've had even myself, I was like, like getting a physical notebook, oh, that's such a task. I have to spend money. Why? But then I realized I have my phone, so I started with my notes app. Simply just started writing down in my notes app some anything. But when it comes to prompts, I am also that kind of person. I'm also the kind of person who needs a little bit of structure because a little too much freedom gets a little bit too much.
Mhm.
So when it comes to prompts, I honestly sometimes just look something up. I look something up and I'd say, I'm feeling like this. What are some journaling prompts? Because the internet is so widespread. Everyone struggled with something at some point. So there's so many resources out there. And at Body Beyond Beauty on our website, we do have some prompts we include, such as simple questions like, how are you feeling? What in the past 24 hours have you done to help your body not hurt it? So it's just things that don't mean any, the things that don't imply any feelings, but it's kind of sort of an open space for you to have your own take on it.
hmm that's great. And one of the things that popped up in my mind too is I was thinking back when I was first getting into journaling, a lot of it was letters, whether it was letters to different people in my life or letters to my eating disorder itself or letters to diet culture. I journaled a lot of letters that I never sent. I never sent them out, but those were great starting points for me when it was like, I don't know what I want to write. I don't know where to start writing. So maybe act like I'm writing somebody a letter and let my mind then go from there. One of the things I was going to go back to too is you were talking about how you've talked to other gymnasts and you've been able to talk to other performing artists. Do you think there's a different level of connection and vulnerability that comes through because you're a youth-led initiative, because you're a peer, because you can connect with them kind of on that one-on-one level?
There definitely, I would say, is because, especially for example, rhythmic gymnastics, the world that I was part of, um, your coaches were always expecting something from you. They were always expecting you to be the best. They were expecting you to impress the judges. So there's always that level of intimidation and that level of nervousness. Oh no, if I mess up, they're gonna yell at me. I'm gonna get in trouble. But when it was just one-on-one, when it was just me and my teammate, when it was just me and my other teammate, when it was just a group of us all together, there was a sort of sense of calm. There was a sort of sense of a weight lifted off from our shoulders because now there was no pressure. There was no right or wrong answers. You were just being yourself. You were just talking about how you felt, and there was no judgment because everyone was basically in the same boat. We all almost felt the same way. Some of us went through a little bit harsher, some of us had a little bit of a lighter weight, but we all went through some form of struggle, and just being there for one another really helped. And there was no rules, there was no expectations. It was just us being teenagers at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's at the core of what Anna does too. We're rooted in that peer support because it's something when you're able to talk with somebody who gets it, who just kind of understands where you're at right now, that can make a big impact. So I'm really glad that you're out there and you're making those connections and I was thinking too about the coaches and the trainers and the parents and stuff. One, is there anything that you would like to say to them that they could maybe do to better support athletes and performing artists? And also for the performing artists themselves, how could they better advocate for themselves in some of those situations? It can be scary sometimes to speak up to a coach or a trainer or to a parent. So how do you navigate that?
So definitely that's a tough one, especially for girls like who are just vulnerable little like people who are like under these coaches who are training for them, representing them in a sense, because that's what we were always told. We were always told, you're representing us, you're representing our gym, our faces, our names. And that always, of course, led to some nervousness, that led to some pressure. So for the coaches, I would definitely say try not having any sort of implied feelings when you're mentioning food, when you're mentioning the body, when you're mentioning anything of that sense. Like, I would say, don't have a negative connotation to, let's say, for what I struggled with, let's say, like sugar and like carbs and sweets and whatnot. Don't
Mhm.
have a negative connotation to it. Try reinforcing a balanced lifestyle because those kinds of restrictions, those kinds of negative talk stay in someone's head because, words are very loud, words are very repetitive and they repeat a lot and they stay in your brain no matter what. So once you say something, even if you meant it in the most minor, jokingly way possible, it will stay in someone's head no matter what. So I would say not having a sort of implied feeling towards anything related to food, to the body, to because at the end of the day, like food is there to nourish yourself. Food is there to serve you and not harm you. So once you add a feeling, once you add a sort of negative word to it, then it becomes negative for everybody else.
Mhm.
And to athletes, to performance-based people, I would say to advocate for yourself. I'd say, like, if you were talking to, let's say, your coach, even your teacher, be like, hey, like, I'm in a really good spot right now. I am having my meals. I am having a fun, sweet treat sometimes. I'm in a really good place. So if you could just not mention those kinds of things in front of me or truly anyone else, because no one else deserves to hear those kinds of things, because then other people who were never struggling in the first place start to struggle, and then it is a constant spiral that never ends, that truly feels like it never ends until maybe it does one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Great advice for navigating some of that diet culture talk that's just so normalized, whether you're in the gym or you're just out and about going about your daily business. It seems to be everywhere these days. So if people are out there and they want to get involved and they want to support what you're doing at Body Beyond Beauty, how can they do that?
So right now we're very locally based. So we plan on trying to start outreaching to different maybe states, maybe internationally soon. So our main focus right now, we focus on what we call recovery kits. So they aren't any like clinical tools whatsoever. It's more we build little baskets filled with all sorts of self-care items. Our main one, of course, is a journal because that's our main focus. We love incorporating journaling to all of our workshop sessions, even. And we focus in these recovery kits, we focus on having self-care items such as like a blanket, a stress toy, some sort of a bunch of just self-care items that anyone can truly use, and it doesn't imply any feelings, anything. It's just to make yourself feel comfortable. And then we donate these to, typically we either donate them to dance studios or rhythmic gymnastics gyms or gymnastics gyms in general, or even disorder recovery centers locally. We plan on expanding our volunteer program to states so then they can start building their own recovery kits so they can donate to their locally sourced dance studios and recovery centers.
Amazing. We're going to have to do some sort of collaboration there with the student ambassadors here at ANID because I'm sure that they would love to get involved with some of those self-care kits because that's awesome.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I guess the last question that I got for you today is what advice would you have for other teens and young adults who are wanting to make a difference and wanting to kind of speak up about eating disorders and maybe change that narrative out there?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say because eating disorders impacts a lot of people, but not everyone knows what it is. So I would truly start with just educating yourself through resources such as ANAD, educating yourself just online. There's so many resources out there that are open to everyone. And it just starts with reading. It just starts with reading and understanding what it is. And then it becomes how you can help someone. And then helping someone teaches you how they feel because the emotions, the mindset of someone with an eating disorder versus without an eating disorder is so different. And the average person wouldn't even imagine that someone with an eating disorder is even struggling because sometimes it's not visible until it becomes visible and becomes a state of danger. So I would say if you want to start really advocating for someone, if you want to start advocating for people who struggle with eating disorders, it really starts with getting to know someone with an eating disorder. It really takes getting to know someone on an emotional level and understanding how they feel. Because though online resources say, oh, help someone through this, don't do that, that's what the internet says. If you know someone personally who struggles, it really takes just having a conversation and be like, hey, I'm here for you, and just know that it will all be okay. And if you need to talk, if you need to rant, if you need to vent, I'm truly here for you. And because their mind is going through a spiral always, it's thinking about what to eat, what not to eat, what to do, when to work out, when to do all this. And it's something that takes over your brain so much that it consumes you. You can't think about anything else. So being there for someone and asking how they're doing, what they're thinking about, and just letting them truly tell you what they feel is the first step. That's truly the first step into understanding. And then once you understand that, then you can start advocating and saying, hey, this may be a common feeling. What do you guys think? And then it just turns into a conversation because at the end of the day, it's not really trying to comment on what someone's doing or trying to knick-knack at what someone's saying or thinking. It's more about supporting. At the end of the day, it really is just support and understanding and having that empathy for someone with an eating disorder.
Yeah, that is huge. I say all the time, listen. Do a lot of listening if you're supporting someone. And it's really hard for me and probably a lot of other people out there because I'm a natural fixer. Like if I see
Right,
somebody in pain, if I see somebody struggling, I want to jump in, give them solutions, tell them how to go
right,
about
of
it. But you
course.
can't
Yeah,
do that, especially with
no,
eating disorders. You've got to be there and give that person the space that they need,
right.
and be there to listen. So yeah.
Definitely, I agree.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everything that you're doing, and thank you for
Yeah.
taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule between school and all of the work that you're doing in the community to talk with me today. I'm excited to see what the future holds for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Anna again for having me. I'm truly excited for everything that Body Beyond Beauty plans on doing, any collaborations in the future, and I'm just super grateful. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the day of conversation continues on. I'm really excited for everybody to have the opportunity to meet Samantha. She was able to get me all the way out to Cornell University last fall, my first trip to an Ivy League school. So, hitting the big time now. But you're doing some incredible work there in New York. And I'm excited for the Anid community just to have an opportunity to meet you, find out some of the things that you're up to there. You're one of our first student ambassadors, and by far one of the most proactive and go get it people that I've met. So, Samantha, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're doing on campus?
Thank you, Jason. It's been awesome working with you and all the other United campus ambassadors. Everyone's so great. My name's Samantha. I'm a student at Cornell, and we just officially started the ANAD ASAP Cornell chapter this semester. So we're really excited about that. And what inspired me to start this was I had previously been involved with ANAD for a few years, just being a helpline volunteer, and I had so many conversations with students and people that I could relate to that had been in situations and that felt so lost on campus. You get to college, you're away from home, it's a new environment, it's just can be stressful, and that can cause relapses or new disordered eating behaviors. And when I came to Cornell, I transferred, I had that experience too, and I felt lost with no one to turn to. So I realized how important having a supportive community can be to turn to when you need help, when you don't know what to do. And what we're really trying to do is change the narrative surrounding eating disorders, because a lot of people are scared of them, and people don't want to go near that word, don't want to deal with that. When we were first trying to start the chapter at Cornell, we were shot down by a lot of people because it's a sensitive topic. People don't want to get into it. But you know what? It was really important to us, and we wanted to create a safe space for students on campus where we can converse about whatever you're dealing with. And we finally got approved. So we're excited to just we're having events for Eating Disorder Awareness Week, just trying to create a body positive environment.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we have like a weekly team check-in here at Anid amongst the staff members. And the week that you got approved there at Cornell, that was my win. We share a win every week. And I was like, I really didn't even have anything to do with it, but like we got the official recognition at Cornell, and I was just so excited to celebrate that with the team because that was a big thing. And like you said, eating disorders can be a really sensitive, difficult topic to approach. One of the things that we've kind of tested out this year is approaching it maybe from that mind, body, soul perspective, talk a little bit more about diet culture and things like that. And it does seem to be helping generate some more buzz. And speaking of buzz, I had to throw that in there, but you've got some really cool things coming up during Eating Disorders Awareness Week. Of course, this recording will take place right in the middle of it all, but what are some of the things that you'll be doing on campus that week?
Yeah, so, well, inspired by the day of conversation, actually, when we were talking about this, you mentioned how there's a segment about pets, and I love animals, dogs, cats. I mean, who doesn't love just, petting them, playing with them? And there's an amazing club on campus called the Guiding Eyes, where they get puppies and they trade them to be seeing eye dogs later on, and they do a lot of fundraising events. So that's the event I'm most excited for. We're just going to have a Healing with Paws day where, we sit down. We want to have the day of conversation segment about pets playing on a big screen, have some puppies there, just talk about how pets have a positive impact on our healing and mental health. On Monday, we're actually having mindfulness and matcha. Everyone loves matcha right now. It's like I'm not a big fan, actually. I don't know,
Me neither. I'm right
controversial.
there with you. Yeah. Don't tell my
I like
husband. Yeah.
it tastes like grass. Like I can't do it, but everyone loves it. So we're going to be working with another mental health club on campus and just doing a mindfulness day, kind of talking about coping mechanisms, and if potentially you're in a situation, how do you calm yourself down? How do you get back to a good place?
Yeah. That's going to be amazing. I'm really excited to see everything that you're doing, and please post pictures, send pictures. It's always great to see what you're up to. One of the reasons why I think you've been so successful in what you've been doing is that you're able to collaborate with other organizations and work with what's already there on campus. Could you talk a little bit more about like those partnerships and how that's helped you grow the chapter?
Yeah, so obviously we started this because there wasn't an eating disorder focused club on campus, but we have so many other organizations and they're all unique and amazing. And I'm part of like a bunch of other ones, and it's awesome to see the work other students are doing and how it ties in to our goal and what we want to do. There's an amazing health equity club called Voices of Equity that we actually did your speaking event with last semester. So we worked with them, and they're kind of focused on bringing health equity to everyone. And that I was talking to them, and that ties in with eating disorders because a lot of people aren't able to get treatment for eating disorders, whether there's no access, price, they're too scared to. So that was actually an idea we had that we were going to collab with as well. Even clubs like the Matcha Club, the Guiding Eyes Club, everyone has their own unique niche that I honestly working with them like helps me and it makes our club even stronger. It's great to get help from other organizations and work together.
Totally. I am all about collaboration and working together. And I think it also that gives us an opportunity to see just how widespread eating disorders are because it can impact anybody. So you could really work with any organization or student group there on campus, and somehow the conversations would work together and come together.
Yes.
So for you personally, what's ahead? What do you hope to continue to do in this field and in this area of work?
So personally, I've become really, really interested in nutrition with all like the diet culture, all the crazes, protein, this healthy, this is unhealthy. It's honestly just like so overwhelming. And I really just want to kind of debunk all of that. I feel like so many people in this country have such a bad relationship with food, with exercise, honestly. And I just want to reframe that.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to be, oh, I ate a cookie last week. Okay, now, I have to starve myself. And I want people to get into a better place and understand that this shouldn't be controlling their lives. Because having gone through that, and, there was a point where I thought recovery was not going to be possible and that my whole life was going to be like this. And when I got help and reached out to people and saw what was out there, it was like my entire life and perspective changed. And,
Right.
now I'm excited to help other people with that.
Yeah, there are definitely still those days for me too where it's like I didn't think this was possible. Like, and now I find myself sometimes taking it for granted almost, and I'm like I gotta pause and like reflect and realize like yeah, the view that I have on food, body, self, I didn't think that was ever gonna happen. But through a lot of hard work and a lot of conversations and through community, it definitely can happen.
And ANAD does such a great job with helping people on this journey. The helpline, the mentor programs, and they're able to cater to such a wide variety of groups. Like there's so much diversity, which is just awesome because eating disorders can affect literally anyone. It's not one group of people. So I think that was like a big thing for me with ANAD.
I love that. We're getting like a little recruitment pitch in there too. Yeah. If anybody out there is interested in volunteering, it's an awesome place to be a part of. I lead our support group, so I get to do volunteer work as well, and I absolutely love it.
When we had club fair. Oh my gosh, it was like already like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Time flies. But almost nobody knew what ANAD was. And one girl I came up and she was just asking about what ANAD is, what they do. And I don't know if she ever went through with it, but she was really eager about becoming a volunteer. And
Cool.
I just talked for like 20, 30 minutes about my experience and how grateful I've been to be part of such a great organization. So I love ANAD and they're doing great work. So, and
Cool.
thank you to you, Jason. You've been such a big help on this journey.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. We're getting I didn't make her say any of this, people.
I
So this
promise.
but no, that really means a lot. Thank you for sharing that. And just I guess to remind everybody who's listening too, if you look at our website and see the peer support opportunities, like that's where especially we need a lot of help because that helps us grow our programs and stuff. But if there's other ways that you want to get involved, Samantha can probably speak to this too. Like our student ambassador program is very flexible. So it's like you can come in, you get to create the ideas, and we're here to support you along the way. It's not like you join and you have to do X, Y, and Z. Like we want you to do the things that you're passionate and that you're interested about and find ways that that can benefit everybody in the community.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite part about it. I'll just like have a random idea, email you the next day and be like, "Oh, like I just thought about this. Like, can we meet?" And you're like all for it always. So
Yeah,
it's great having both the support but also the freedom to do what you're passionate about in a way that you want. So
exactly.
it's
And
like my favorite
it
thing that
keeps
I'm involved in.
it keeps people engaged because yeah,
Yes,
if you're not doing things that speak to you, that feel good to you, then you're not going to continue to come back and do that work, especially when you're volunteering your time and your energy and you've got a lot of other commitments going on right now. So yeah, I want to make the most of the time that you've got for volunteering.
exactly. You have to want to do it and be happy doing it.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to share with anybody who's listening right now before we wrap up?
Um, just remember, you're not alone. There's always help out there. We're all here for you, and yeah,
All right. Well, thanks so much. Again, everybody who's listening, stay tuned. I'm sure we're going to be resharing pictures from all the activities that are taking place this week up at Cornell and
I'm gonna say
Samantha.
plug
Yeah.
ASAP Cornell on Instagram.
Yeah. Follow along on Instagram. And we'll reshare it out there too so everybody can find you.
Thank
So,
you.
all right. Thanks so much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, well, the day of conversation continues to roll on. I'm really excited. Sarah reached out to me a couple of weeks ago now, and I was just really impressed with everything that she was doing. She's got the Empowered Initiative that's doing some amazing work right now. So I would love for Sarah to have the opportunity to introduce yourself and also tell us a little bit more about the Empowered Initiative.
Yeah, of course. I just want to start off by saying that I'm so honored to be here. I'm so happy that I can join in on Anad's Day of Conversation. And yeah, I'll get right into it. So, the Empowered Initiative is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, and we're based in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And our main mission is to provide support and awareness for individuals who are struggling with eating disorders or body dysmorphia, and they might feel overlooked or too afraid to ask for help. And after being in a toxic dance environment that made me develop disordered eating habits and extremely severe body image issues all the way back in middle school, I would always think that my problems were too minuscule and I was ridiculous for having such an awful mindset about my body when all my checkups with the doctor told me that I was a healthy weight. And things got a lot worse when I got on social media. And that's when I realized how bad ED culture is, especially online. So yeah, I would just be scrolling through my For You page and I would come across a video of a girl who was doing a simple, like an outfit check at the beach. And then I would look through the comments, and every couple of scrolls would just be a person talking about how they need to stop eating so much, or the girl is making them miss their eating disorder, and just a lot of other things that I found really insane. So seeing all those videos just kind of made me realize how normalized it is to make comments like that, and people just are always getting ignored. So this prompted me to think about how I could change this negativity. And I've always wanted to be the person who steps up and makes a change in their community. But it wasn't until some of my own friends confided in me about their own eating disorders and body dysmorphia. And that's pretty much when I became really determined to build an initiative that can help people like the ones who are hiding in TikTok comment sections, or the ones who are too afraid to ask for help, or just the ones who grew up in really destructive dance environments like I did. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that and for everything that you're doing. I'm curious, have you had more friends or more peers come up to you and kind of share their experiences or share their stories since you started this work?
Actually, yeah, so I've been really proud of the way that my friends have been coming up to me and, confiding in me more about it. It was actually a couple of days ago when my very good childhood friend, who I always found was this super happy and healthy guy, and we were just texting about the Empowered Initiative because recently someone at our school wrote an article about our nonprofit and published it on our newspaper, and he happened to come across it. And then after reading it, he came to me and he said he just wanted to thank me for the work I was doing, and he felt really seen because he was diagnosed with an eating disorder over the summer. And he's really happy that, the Empowered Initiative is working to kind of bring more light to eating disorders in men because, there are a lot of statistics about how, males are often seen as not as likely to have an eating disorder as females. But yeah, just hearing his story made me really, really happy that he was comfortable enough to come up to me. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. You're creating really, really impactful spaces. It was one of the things I noticed once I started to share my story is that I had several of my friends and at the time several coworkers come up and start to share their stories with me. And I found that if one of us takes the initiative and at least just starts some sort of conversation, it creates space for other people to start to share and to open up. So I'm really glad that your friend was able to share that and felt seen by the work that you're doing. Speaking of that, why do you think it's so important, especially for youth and young adults, to be heard and seen when it comes to awareness work?
Oh yeah, great question. I think that a lot of young people are struggling quietly, especially with things like body image and eating disorders, because they don't feel sick enough or bad enough to deserve help. And when youth aren't seen or heard, those thoughts will just grow louder in isolation. So being acknowledged, even just having someone take you seriously, can really be the difference between someone reaching out or sinking deeper into harmful patterns. So I don't think teens' mental health is talked about enough at all, and it's so easy for young people to just have their minds molded into damaging thoughts. And in my opinion, it really only takes a supportive shoulder to lean on, or just one listening ear to remind them that what they're feeling is real and they don't have to go through it alone. Because youth deserve to be listened to not just as our future adults, but as people whose experiences matter right now.
Yeah, and I love that you say the word listen because that's one of the things like for me, I'm a fixer. Like as soon as there's a problem going on, like I want to jump in, tell people how to solve it, try to fix it. But one of the things that I've learned is that the best way you can support individuals, especially somebody who's struggling with food or body image concerns, is to listen to them.
Mhm.
You don't even have to say a word, just give them that space and listen to them. So it's really cool that you're creating those spaces for your peers and for your friends. What exactly through the Empowered Initiative are you doing right now to create those spaces? What kind of projects are you working on?
Oh, okay. So at the Empowered Initiative, one thing I'd like to say is that we're really intentional about not being performative or surface level. So we don't force people to share and we don't glamorize recovery and we don't talk at people, if that makes sense. Instead, we try to focus on really tangible support. So, for example, we have our anonymous hotline forum where people can just kind of either scroll through some of the other messages that people have submitted and told us that they're comfortable sharing on our website, Or they can send in their own message, and then that message goes directly to our hotline forum volunteers, who then send a message back, and it's kind of like this exchange between the person who is struggling and our volunteer. So yeah, and we also have our hospital campaigns where our hospital campaign volunteers, they'll create these care packages for patients who are currently hospitalized for an eating disorder. And yeah, they've done great things. We've written a lot of Dear Fighter letters that we send in to those patients. And we also have a recovery library that's online. And it just holds a lot of recovery resources for people who might want to be a little more educated on the different types of eating disorders. And they also have very personal stories from our own volunteers and just a variety of genres. We have infographics and poems as well. So yeah. And another thing is that we also work on making social media platforms a place for teens to see unfiltered bodies and healthy trends by collaborating with influencers who use their voice to spread body positivity. So yeah. Safety comes from consistency and respect, and we really try to reinforce that by letting teens know they're not alone and they're not judged, and they especially don't owe anyone their story in order to be supported.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. If somebody, first of all, I'm like thinking of all of our student ambassadors here at ANID. Like, I want to send them your way so that they can get involved with all of the amazing projects you're working on. If somebody's interested, if they're listening right now and want to get involved, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Oh, yeah, there's so many ways to get involved, even if you're not local. So people can volunteer remotely by helping with our anonymous forum. And if they'd like to write or help educate, then they can become a recovery library volunteer. And if you're not in the area, because we are based in Ann Arbor, they can still become a hospital campaign volunteer by just writing their own letters at home or designing these little cards or just sharing their artwork and then just posting it on the platform we use for our volunteer assignments. So yeah, one platform that we use is Idealist. Volunteer match. So people can just search up the Empowered Initiative and you can just find this right there and you can sign up to either be a hotline forum volunteer, a recovery library volunteer, or a hospital campaign volunteer. And we also have a bunch of forms to be those volunteers linked on our Instagram and our website. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. And for those of you watching, we'll include links somewhere or reach out to us if you need a link, if you want to get involved. Sarah, this has been great. One of the final question I got for you today is what's something that you've learned either about yourself or about awareness since you got involved with all of this?
Um, I'd say that one of the biggest things I've learned is how many people are already looking for help, but they just don't know where to go because they don't know what's safe. So, through our hotline forum, especially, we've received almost 100 messages from people opening up about things that they've never said out loud before. And it's just been really heartwarming seeing volunteers take the time to respond thoughtfully and it's really shown me that support doesn't always have to be loud or big, I guess, to matter. And sometimes it's really just knowing that someone is there, reading your words and responding with care. That makes a real difference.
It does. It does. And one of the things I always say too is that maybe we can't change the world, but we can always change one person's world at a time. And just being there to have that space and to listen to them can do just that. So thanks so much for joining me. Thank you for everything you're doing. I'm excited for all of us to continue to collaborate and work together and support teens and young adults. As they're navigating a lot of the pressures that are out there right now from society. So, Sarah, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Yeah, thank
And
you so much for having me.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And best of luck as you continue to grow your mission. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for you.
Me too. Thank you.
Thanks. Be joined by Ryan right now, who is doing some tremendous advocacy and awareness work around mental health. Ryan, would you like to go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about the work that you're up to?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like you said, my name's Ryan. I'm currently on NAMI's National Next Gen for this year, as well as speaking at the other affiliates around the Chicago area. And I work with Jason a lot, especially with in terms of body dysmorphia awareness and eating disorder awareness too.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for the work that you're doing. There's not enough guys that are speaking up right now and breaking through that stigma, breaking through some of those stereotypes, or especially around body dysmorphia and body image issues. So I really appreciate you sharing your story and getting it out there. I'm curious, could you give us just a little bit of background on what motivated you to get involved in the first place?
hmm what motivated me was directly through my own experience with depression, anxiety, and body dysmorphia. After breaking through in many different attempts of recovery, trying so many different things, when I finally found it, it switched me to realize I don't want any of my friends to live through this or anyone at all. And that kind of forefront in my advocacy was my own experiences in like mental distress and going and living with mental health challenges.
And you spoke to some pretty big crowds. I've seen the newspaper, the headlines online. So what's the biggest crowd you spoke to so far?
I one time was like spoke at the IEA, so Illinois Education Association, their like yearly conference. So that was I think like 1,200 people.
That's
And that
amazing.
was almost when I started out. So I'm a lot more comfortable now speaking in front of a big audience like that than I definitely was then. I expected maybe 20, 30 people in that room. So it was a big shocker. I remember I was turned the corner and I saw everyone. I was like, oh my God. I was freaking out, but
Yeah, that's a big oh my God moment for sure. Yeah, because I haven't even spoke to a crowd that big, so I couldn't even imagine like turning the corner and seeing that many people. One of the things that I think you do so well, and I've noticed this in the events that we've done before, is use storytelling and talk about your own personal experience to really bring awareness and shine a light on these issues. What has storytelling meant to you personally? And also, what have you been able to see from the crowds that you do speak with? When you start to share your story.
yeah, storytelling is one of the main things that I like to do. I think it brings just a personal motive and something that people can relate to. For me, it's definitely understanding my own journey and experiences better. As much as I am surrounded in the mental health space, I feel like sometimes I kind of distance myself, like, this is my own story, when in fact, there's so many parts that I talk about and that other people talk about that I relate to. I just don't want to almost confront it. So when I do share my story out loud, it's kind of like, wow, I actually did go through these things and I'm still here. And it's something that it still motivates me. You know, I couldn't imagine myself sharing my story even 2 years ago. So when I do share my story, I think just bringing that personal aspect that someone can relate to is what I find the most kind of heartwarming, especially someone comes up to you after, or you could see them in the audience connecting is, I think it's the biggest thing. I think storytelling is so much better than hearing statistics from a presenter or a speaker.
Yeah, totally, totally. And for the people who are watching this right now during Eating Disorders Awareness Week here at ANID, one of the things that I decided when we do our messaging this year is to stay away from statistics. Because it's like, yeah, those might capture attention or look good in like a headline or something, but it's the stories that really resonate on a completely different level. You listen to somebody share your story and you walk away from that, and suddenly you're able to relate to it in some capacity. It might not be the same struggle, like somebody might deal with suicidal thoughts. Somebody might deal with depression. Somebody might deal with an eating disorder. Somebody might just be dealing with stress at work or something like that. But it makes us realize that we're all going through something. We're all battling obstacles along the way.
Mhm.
So storytelling has the power to unite and really resonate. I'm curious, what's been like a lesson you've learned along the way since you got involved with awareness and speaking out?
I guess honestly, I feel like you hear a lot in school and growing up that, one person could really change something. And I was like, sure, but now, I really kind of see that through my own work. Just when I started in my community, it's grown to this level, and now at the national level is something I never really imagined myself doing. When
Mhm.
I first joined a first advisory council for Create Connect Care, I just thought it would be a one-time thing, and now I'm here talking with you and speaking at these events is something I never really imagined myself doing. So it's kind of crazy to see that really one person can change that. And it just came from my story. It's not no really research that I did at the beginning. I just shared my story and it led me here.
Right. Right. That sounds exactly like my journey too. Like I tell people all the time, I don't have a big fancy degree on the wall or like a bunch of letters after my name. I'm literally just a guy with a story to share, and that's what I do. And it's really cool. One of the best pieces of advice I got when I first started was to stay in my lane. And I realized that my lane was my story and to talk about that. I can't go out there and act like I'm an expert in the latest research that's happening or what is happening maybe to somebody else because I can't speak for them. I can only speak for myself and my journey. And that's a powerful enough tool in the fight for awareness. And yeah. So another question that came up while you were sharing that is, what do you want to do professionally moving forward? Because I know we were talking right before this, and you said you never thought like 2 years ago you'd be sharing your story. So, what does the future hold for you? What are you studying right now? Like, what are your hopes?
Yeah, I mean, kind of personal speaking and public speaking is something that I do for fun, really. Um, and if I could do that for the rest of my life, that would be amazing. Currently, I'm studying psychology, and will probably, I think, the plan right now being like a clinical psychologist and getting my master's and maybe my psych. But I do still want to be advocating you know, my entire life, I can't really see myself stopping from, especially if this is something I do for fun. Um, I definitely want to just keep speaking and trying to bring change to a cause. It's not like in 10 years or right now that everything's stopped and that there's not a youth mental health crisis going on. There still is, and there still needs to be work done for younger me and people growing up in this world now.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I'm glad because you're not going anywhere. I'm not going to let you stop. Like if I see slacking off or something, I'm going to be messaging you and
Good,
keeping
good.
you up to date there. So, but before we go ahead and wrap up, I'm curious, do you have any advice for people who are listening right now who are thinking about sharing their story or want to get involved in advocacy and awareness, but don't know really how to start?
I would say the easiest place to start is your school. Joining a club that might lead you somewhere, or just going online and finding things to apply for. That's how I found where I started was Creative Visions Create Connect Care Advisory Council. I applied to that, and that was the first time where I even shared anything about me. I didn't even start sharing my story until just this over the summer with NAMI's Ending the Silence program. So it took me a while before I was even comfortable sharing my story, but definitely applying to random things. But again, you have the power to go and create something big and larger than yourself with your own story. I mean, we've seen it with Jason, we've seen it with so many other greats in this field that it really just takes your story. But finding confidence through other people's support, like local organizations like NAMI, like ANED, is a great place to start.
Excellent. Yeah, I always say tell your story to yourself first, because that's the most important audience. And once you tell it to yourself, you'll become more comfortable in sharing it with other people. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this conversation. Do you have anything else you want to share today before we close out?
I hope everyone enjoys today. That's it.
All right. Yeah, we got a marathon day ahead. So the conversation will continue. Thank you, Ryan, so much for everything you're doing, for taking a little bit of time out of your schedule to join me. And I look forward to keeping in touch.
All right, thank you.
All right.